All right, guys, it is Friday and just about 12:30, and every Friday at 12:30, we have our good friends on from Emblem Vault. Emblem Vault is building something truly special. They're actually building multiple things that are truly special, but the number one thing right now that they're focused on is Agent Hustle. If you are on Solana and you're not taking advantage of free Agent Hustle, you're making a huge mistake because you have an assistant waiting for you, waiting for your commands and your prompts to kind of show you what's going on. So I highly recommend to anyone if you're playing with a Phantom Wallet, now if you can just go to Google account, honestly, and you guys can just go over there, go to agenthustle.ai, sign up for that, and use it while it's free because it's not going to be free forever. But they're building that, but they're also building something really amazing. The vaults, guys, they've actually vaulted stuff and they're taking stuff over to ETH. We're going to get into all those details with Jake. I'm really excited for this one. So without further ado, let's bring up Jake Gallen for Emblem Vault. Jake, welcome back to OnChain Revolution.
What's good, guys? Man, it's been maybe 2 or 3 weeks since I've been on.
3 weeks.
I think Adam was on, and
was
then
it? Oh, yeah.
I was at Bitcoin Vegas, literally out 7 days in a row. I'm fucking exhausted from it, but man, what a fun time!
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Vegas, let's dive into that a bit. Obviously, you were expecting to run into a lot of the people that you knew in our ecosystem and the Bitcoin broader ecosystem, you could say crypto ecosystem, but did it hit your expectations in terms of the conference itself? And then, what was the biggest, I guess, like most featured part of the entire Bitcoin ecosystem?
Yeah, man, the conference kind of blew my expectations. There were so many people, by far the largest conference I've ever been to. I think at the end of the day, they sold 35,000 tickets, what they said. They gave everybody who went this year a free ticket to next year. So I think they're expecting it to be even bigger. I knew this, from Vegas, that once the conference was here, it'd probably never leave. And that seems to be the case. I heard rumors that they actually signed like a long-term contract. So it sounds like it's going to be in Vegas for many years to come, which is going to be awesome. The Inscribing Vegas was awesome. Really good event there. I have a lot of information about that or insight from there. The conference, I tried to go see JD Vance in the morning. He was the first speaker on Wednesday, which is when the general admission passes could show up. They opened doors at 5:30 to line up, and I was like, there's no way people are going to line up at 5:30 in the morning in Vegas after being out up all night. And I was completely wrong. I got in line at 8 a.m. and I got all the way up to the door. I was like maybe 300 or 400 people away from getting into JD Vance. But there had to be, I kid you not, this is probably the longest line I've ever seen in my life. Probably 30,000 people in this line. Like it was
wow,
and it was insane. Yeah, but he had a good presentation. The boothing area was big. The speakers, the speakers for me, it's like, and for us, we sit on spaces all day, so we hear these people talk all the time. So the presentations are really not anything different from the things that you hear on spaces outside of like a few product announcements. There really wasn't like that crazy of a product announcement to be fair, but the side events were great. Went to the Mike Tyson Tiger mansion party on Wednesday, which seemed
Tyson looked a little off. He looked a little off in those pictures.
Yeah, man, that was it's pretty funny. But overall, amazing experience. Inscribing Vegas, the energy was really intense. Everyone extremely bullish on runes, so I don't know. The timeline's definitely not reflected. There are tons of builders for runes, and I think in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to see a handful of AMMs and DEXs come online for runes. So there's going to be some real competition. Obviously, Magic Eden's very public about what they're doing, right? With like Slingshot and Spark, trying to build their kind of, I guess you would call it like a custodial kind of use any token to buy runes experience. You have DotSwap that announced Nexus during Inscribing Vegas, and I actually was looking at the stats. I actually got to meet some of the DotSwap team. They're doing like 60-70% of the volume Magic Eden is. So they're actually like kind of close, in terms of competition. Obviously you have Arch that's coming online. A lot of builders are using ICP now, from what I hear, even more builders. I saw like a counterparty announcement that one team's using ICP for a counterparty DEX. And there's like 2 or 3 teams that are big teams in the Bitcoin ordinal space that are building a DEX and AMM that they haven't announced yet. So there's going to be a ton of competition. I think the main takeaway is that every single one of these is using some sort of cross-chain tooling to get it done. So, you know, we're all vindicated of the things we've been saying for a few years because that's literally what's happening.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know, I mean, Emblem's been doing it for almost 10 years at this point. So it's like, you know, the market's finally starting to catch up to where Emblem has been, but it is really great to see. Really, really exciting. So I wouldn't believe a lot of the things you see on the timeline because the builder's really excited and the community's really excited. Whatever, you know, some of the larger accounts say, I don't think that's going to be the case once a lot of this stuff's online.
Yeah.
When's Udi gonna give up on Opcat and just start building for runes? That's what I want to know.
Well, he's an investor in ICP, right? Because he's an investor in Odin Fund. So, right, he has some stake in runes. He's just, you know, he's just doing it for engagement. That's kind of
I absolutely think that that's most of the case. But it's so funny that, like what you said, you know, kind of what we have had conversations about with scaling solutions and stuff the past year and a half. It's almost like these builders that were so worried about what the maxis would say or think, they're like, okay, you have 2 paths here to get across this valley or whatever. One of them's full of tar, but you can get through it. It's going to be such a difficult time. Or the other one is like more clear, but you might have to go around certain obstacles but it's way less like, you know, work and headache and stuff. And they were just constantly taking that left option. Now they say, okay, all right, you know, all right, Jake, all right, yeah, go be all right. No, but like, you know, this seems to be the route. So that definitely feels good because I feel like our space as a whole can now move forward. But yeah, like when you brought that up, it just made me feel great. But you got to meet one of your community members, Memetics.
I met Jake. I met Memetics at Inscribing Vegas. So it was really cool to kind of talk and hang out. Really good dude, been in the community for a really long time. You know, he's a great artist. And he told me some of the things that he's going to be releasing here soon as well. So it is always great. You know, it's tough sometimes to meet people in real life. Like for me, I'm obviously a public figure, even now with the kind of real PFP. But when you meet up with somebody, right, they have to tell you kind of their
screen name,
their screen, their handle or a conversation you've had. And so sometimes it's funny of being like a more public facing person because people will walk up to you and start like continuing a conversation you've had with them. And you don't know who they are. So you like start thinking of like, where's this conversation from? Who is this and stuff? But no, it's all great. It's all good fun. One surprising takeaway from the Bitcoin conference and ordinals actually as well is that there was no AI stuff at all. There was one AI booth at the Bitcoin conference. Wow. Actually, when we were walking through Inscribing Vegas, I would say we were actually, the Emblem team was approached by maybe 5 or 6 meta protocols and dexes to integrate into Hustle. So that seemed to be kind of the interest there. I mean, we have a very large Bitcoin community, and that's where we kind of want to go next once we start expanding to new chains. And yeah, there's going to be some real competition there. But I'm very surprised that there was no AI stuff. I think next year at the Bitcoin conference, that'll change because JD Vance at the very end of his speech said that Bitcoin was becoming more conservative and AI was becoming more liberal, and that he was basically calling on the Bitcoin community to participate more in AI so that AI doesn't become co-opted by the left. I think a lot of people will take that very seriously. So I think you'll probably see a handful of Bitcoin-focused AI companies pop up probably over the next 6 months. They'd probably start getting funded now, but yeah, that should change because AI and Bitcoin, it makes everything automated, and I think it'll have a profound impact on runes, ordinals, BRC 2.0, and all these other ecosystems. And every team that I've talked with is super interested in it. They want to build the infrastructure, and they just want us to tie in it so the community can participate.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I love the fact that JD said that. I didn't hear anyone talk about that. You're the first person I heard. Actually, I didn't watch the speech, so I probably should go back and watch it.
But it was literally the last thing that he said. So the last 5 minutes.
Gotcha.
I love that for Hustle actually, because you guys are perfectly positioned to kind of be that like early, you know, take the market share, and then if competitors, you guys can be in the position where like if you want it, you're gonna have to take it from us, right? So and now you have you're familiar with all these other builders, so integrating that, you have that relationship. So I'm excited for the future of Hustle. Once you guys do integrate the Bitcoin tech stack into it, I think it's a bright future.
That's where we want to go. I mean, for Hustle, we're kind of in an interesting spot. So we got our new login system, so you can log in with Google. I have some other updates about like the Emblem Vault side we'll talk about later. But so the demoing was actually pretty easy. When I'd walk up to somebody on mobile, you just click on mobile, sign in with Google, and you're in the interface within like 20 seconds. So a lot of people were very impressed with that. While we were actually at, see, we have Google, we're doing X and Apple next. And there are
X.
Yeah,
Let's go.
when we set this up is when X was having issues. So the developer portal was down, and we were just like, fuck it, just launch it with Google and we'll figure it out afterwards. And so we actually have other Web3 wallets integrated, just whichever web extension wallets you have downloaded on your web browser are the ones that'll pop up. So basically we built like kind of our own privy for that system, which was a company that was funded for $15 million recently. So we kind of have our own. Yeah. So we have that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But what we've identified now is like right before the Bitcoin conference, we're having about 250 daily active users. Now it's down to about 100 or so. And the users are gravitating with the flow of the Solana trenches, as well as the AI trenches as well, right? So like the DeFi AI sector is down like 70% over the last 2 weeks, and Solana is also, volume is down drastically. So for us moving into Bitcoin and some of these other ecosystems, Emblem has 25,000 holders, and obviously we've been around in the Bitcoin ecosystem for a long time. So we have to kind of expand, to attract more people to the platform. But we've now identified two different types of users that we're kind of building for. The first one is like the trenchers. It's the people who come in, they use Hustle for, finding tokens, buying tokens, creating strategies, thesis, daily reports, etc. The other type is what we like to call the pocket analysts, or I guess this is what Trevor King from Asymmetric calls it, where they don't actually ever trade with Hustle. They just want like news. They want to talk with them. On Monday, we just added web browsing capabilities. So it's just like if Hustle has access to Google, so you could check sports reports, you could check news from Bloomberg, right? You could do things outside of crypto and kind of intertwine it with crypto. So we're going to start making a bigger play on data aggregation. And I see a bunch of other teams are now starting to kind of follow suit with Soul Sniper, just launched their AI, which is almost very similar to Agent Hustle. It's like very close. Yeah, I would say it's not as great in terms of like its flexibility, because it's probably just using Soul Sniper data. But Nansen also came out and said that they're building an AI as well, right? So they'll be kind of domiciled with their own. So
what is his entity called? Ansem's.
No, Nansen.
Oh, I was about to say Ansem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Analytics, right?
And Nansen's like one of the top analytics platforms.
Gotcha.
So, all these, so we were right. We've been right this whole time, which we already knew. We're kind of competing in two ballparks now, with like this analytics side of things, and then also kind of like the trading.
I love that
capabilities. And kind of what we've noticed is that it's becoming more. At the beginning, it was very trader heavy user base. Now it's becoming a lot more analytics based. So we're kind of building our conditional system right now, at least the early primitives of it. And then we're going to add our subscription service after that. And then we're just going to go heavy into a lot of data, a lot of optimizations, and really expanding to Bitcoin mobile and a lot of these other kind of capabilities.
Yeah, man. Excited for that. I'm excited for the Bitcoin part, honestly. Hustle on Bitcoin is going to be absolutely amazing. But like, so you had your whole team in Vegas, right? Which is awesome.
Most of the team. Okay. Some of the devs stayed back. Shannon didn't go, and Sammy stayed back.
Gotcha.
They made a ton of progress on the Emblem 2.0 side of things. So they stayed back. So it was me, Chris, Adam, and Eric, who's one of the co-founders.
And Bunzi, right?
And Bunzi was there as well. Yeah.
So how was it with you guys, man? How was it kind of hanging out after kind of just talking all the time, where work wise? How was it with like the team? Was it like an awesome bonding?
Yeah, it's fun
for you guys.
Yeah, Chris lives out here in Vegas, and I've known him for a while, so that's cool. It's always great seeing Adam. It was Adam's first time in Vegas. very surprisingly. And Bunzi I talk with all the time. He actually comes out here semi often as well. But it's cool to talk business in kind of a play environment, because it kind of allows for creativity of different types of ideas instead of just sitting at the computer where you're kind of surrounded by your own work environment.
Yeah.
So it's a little loose, and then also engaging in other conversations with other builders that you can then think on other types of ideas. It's pretty interesting. I realized at the conference that because of my shift into AI, the algorithms actually kind of like domiciled me into this like one area. So there's like a bunch of people that I've known for a while in the industry. I was talking about Agent Hustle, and they're like, "Now that I think about it, you don't even come up on my timeline anymore." Yeah, so I'm trying to build my reach back out to a little bit more of a broader audience. Went a little bit too deep, I guess, on the Agent Hustle posts.
Just hashtag dog, man. It works for me.
It does, yeah. Yeah. The dog community was out in full force. To me,
how was that in person though? Like, we see it on X and it seems like really powerful, but in person, was it another experience?
Every time I walked by the dog booth, which was maybe 2 or 3 times, it was back. There was like at least 20 or 30 people around it, just people hanging out. Talked with a few of the guys. I forget which people specifically, but there was like a spin wheel, and they were giving away plushies, or at least they had just finished handing out all the plushies. I didn't make it to the party afterwards. I was at a different one at that time. And no, it was just cool. Like them, the puppets, Billy. There's a lot of Billy people that I had met as well. Those are probably the 3 strongest communities, I would say. Didn't see anything about Node Monkeys anywhere.
Really?
Not much about Taproot Wizards, to be honest. I know they had a party, but not like around the conference. No one brought up Taproot Wizards in any of the conversations. It was mostly all dog and puppets for the most part, just kind of building the culture. But then again,
Mr. Pups, like, or was this all?
It's mostly puppets, the NFT collection. Okay. Yeah. No one talks about the token, it seems like.
Except for Farmer Joe.
Yeah, unfortunate. Good builder. He's a good guy. But yeah, so for me, dog, I think like whoever wins the DEX battle for runes is going to be whoever attracts the dog community. Like that's going to be pretty much game and point.
It's going to be hard to beat DotSwap though, right? DotSwap's just so far ahead of everyone else.
I'm happy for DotSwap too, because we met Lynn, we met the other Johnny. Founder as well. Yeah,
I got to meet Johnny in Vegas. Yeah, Johnny.
Cool guys. And they're good combo actually. Like you wouldn't think that they would be partnered up, but they work. And DotSwap's been there since the early days. They've been trying to do this for a long time. So for them to break through and get to that 65-70% of Magic Eden's volume, I'm happy for them. And I hope that they have good success. So
from what I've seen so far, they have the best third-party tooling, because I've reached out to all of the people who had talked to us about APIs and integrations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem the farthest ahead, although Arch is still launching, and they have Saturn and whatever, and obviously all this funding, so they will definitely have some impact. I guess it depends on how people respond, but I know I've heard good and bad things from both sides. I've heard good things on on how powerful the technology is, and the bad things is it's taking too long, so a lot of developers have actually left for ICP, it seems like,
and base,
right? But if it's, if it does what they say they do, and the developers that I talked with who are building on Arch had said that it does in fact do what they say, it just becomes more of just like a waiting game, I suppose. But honestly, like for Emblem's thesis, because we have keys TGE in 3 months or so, like our whole thesis back in, Q3 of last year was, Arch becomes the main DEX and everyone just trades there. And so we'll move over there and it'll be a similar experience to Uniswap. Obviously, since then, you've had tons of other teams pop up and DotSwap's continued, and Magic Eden's going this other direction. But I don't think Magic Eden won't have LP pools, at least from I see. Their LP pools are privately backed by their own treasury, I think, or whatever Slingshot's treasury is, I suppose. So we'll see. But, competition's great for everyone.
Yeah. No, so the problem with Arch though is like I think the SVM model or the Arch VM model is going to be amazing, right? But like, can they to do is the rolling up. Can they roll up the transactions on Bitcoin? Right, like I think that's the one part that like I need to see, because right now when you're using something like Saturn on testnet, you're kind of using the runes that they made, right? You're using the kind of like the Arch VM model type of thing, right? But can they do it? And that'll be the big telltale, in my opinion. Watching those blocks get rolled up on mempool.space, right?
Aren't they
Watching
doing
that
it on
happen.
testnet though? They're doing it
But-
with the synthetic runes that they created, but
it's-
still rolling
they
it up to
created-
Bitcoin. Still rolling it up to Bitcoin's testnet though.
Yeah, but you still like the thing with mainnet is that you can have rogue
You
miners.
can't make mistakes.
And you can also have rogue miners being bribed, so they choose different types of blocks to process. Which, if you're rolling it up, and for what I hear with Arch is that all of the transactions have to be in order. Once you submit it, there's no way to like reconfigure it. And I think if you have a miner who goes and mines a block in a different order or is paid, maybe that fucks up the process in some capacity. I don't know for sure, but that's kind of what I've been hearing.
So I'm just excited to kind of see that in action, right? That's when I'll get super bullish on Arch. I mean, I'm already bullish on Matt and the team and stuff like that, but
me too.
I kind of like I need to see it.
Yeah. Arch had their own, I guess, event. It was at the same event place as Inscribing Vegas. Is it one thing I noticed about the Bitcoin conference was a lot of the events were all in the same place. So like there was a bunch of places or a bunch of events at the Luminarium. That's where Inscribing Vegas and the Arch thing and a few others. There were a ton of events at the Mike Tyson's mansion. There was like 5 or 6 parties there. Then there was obviously a handful of like private events at like Omnia, which was the club that I used to work at, and restaurants and different things like that. But full force. I actually had 2 different conversations with 2 people ask me how tough it is to buy a casino and turn it into a crypto casino. I was like, it is very difficult. And you got to go through the gaming control board. It's not as simple as just throwing some Bitcoin at it. So there's a lot of interest, which just goes through with what I had talked about 10 years ago when I got into Bitcoin, when I was working in the nightclub, that Vegas would become a crypto capital in some capacity. So I think this is kind of the early starts to it. Maybe 5 years from now, it'll be very apparent, but yeah, exciting. So you guys better come next year. It was a lot of fun.
I do plan on going next year. Seriously, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did have a little FOMO once. Like I said, like we had community members like hanging out with each other, and that's awesome, and they're partying and staying out till like 5 in the morning and still trying to be the first comment in our thing. I'm just like, you guys are crazy.
Danny actually did it. Danny was actually like he stayed up all night to be the first comment in our show, but pretty wild. But yeah, man. But you guys, obviously hustle. We talked about that a lot, but you're also doing pretty amazing stuff with the NFTs and the ordinals and stuff and jumping them. You actually recently jumped an ordinal collection or some of them to a chain. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So finally, after 2 years, we finally got Emblem 2.0 up and running. So we launched our first collection, Taproot Wizards. We had a bunch of people in the community ask why, or people from Taproot Wizards community in the comments not understanding what the point of this was. But it was actually, well, first from a technical standpoint, great achievement for us. Again, we started Emblem 2.0 in July of 2023. Wow. And now we have the first collection laid down on ETH mainnet. So huge movement there. Finally take a sigh of relief because now we can finally launch bulk minting. We're launching, the dev team is now working on base right now for some collections. But the reason why is Gandhi actually requested it from us. So Gandhi is the largest NFT lending platform in the industry. They have like about 5% of all punks and loans. And they have our Rare Puppet collection and our Spells Justice collection. I think they might have puppets and a few of the other ones on there that we have deployed. I don't know for sure. But they said that they have been getting a ton of requests to lend Taproot Wizards on Gandhi. So they asked us to do it. And so we launched it. And I think they're going to put a marketing campaign behind it maybe next week or the week after. So very exciting times there. But this just means now we can basically deploy any collection on ETH mainnet using the brand new system. This means that it's a whole new architecture. It's much easier than to move assets between chains. So once we get on base, we can build this jump function to where you can move. If you have your Taproot Wizards on ETH mainnet, you can move it to base in basically one click. It's just, there's no bridge wait time or anything like that. You just move it. And so this creates like a very interoperable NFT ecosystem where you can basically farm your token on any chain based off of whatever protocol wants to offer rewards. We're still probably a year or two away from that becoming like a very apparent thing. So we're kind of really just building for the future. But really exciting that is finally done, man. That was a monkey on our back for 2 years.
Yeah, man. Can that actually be like a headless product as well? Could like Gandhi actually have a tab that says a vault your ordinal here, and then we'll handle everything in the back end?
Yeah, so with the new Emblem SDK, we actually have Bunzi, our front end dev, we're actually building a new minting site, and it's going to be built on top of our SDK, where anybody can just build their own Emblem minting portal directly into their website. So we're going about it in a very programmatic way. So we'll have a new front end hopefully here in the next few months that looks and feels a lot more similar to what a fungible token bridge looks like, and very modernized to where it will have its own MCP server, so we can integrate Agent Hustle into it, or the Agent Hustle, whether we call it Agent Hustle or we white label it to something else. But you'll have an AI then that you can talk with on the new site that can give you recommendations on NFT trading, on vaulting optimizations, on kind of whatever we program it to wherever the company is kind of at the time. And that's the most powerful thing. Like, for example, while we were at Bitcoin Vegas, we have a Hustle MCP server, and Ordiscan has an MCP server. So an independent developer went and bridged the two things together and created 29 tools, AI tools for ordinals. And so from there, once we integrate, we're going to integrate this into Hustle. Once we get the subscription service live, you'll be able to use Agent Hustle to query any type of information for BRC20, for runes, for inscriptions, for basically anything of the on-chain economy that exists through Ordiscan. And that was all just done by an independent developer who now is actually building a web extension. I think he's calling it Agent Hustle Pro, kind of similar to like what Hanon is doing with their HUD product. But instead of HUD, which is doing AI trend lines and stuff on charts, Hustle, you'll be able to use him on any website to talk with. And also, I think he's adding buy buttons for all types of tokens and things like that. So that's the empowerment of having, an SDK and an MCP. And so for Emblem Vault, the SDK has been basically rebuilt. And to whatever you see live on our site, any developer could basically go and build it directly into their site.
Is the SDK open source, or you guys?
Yeah.
Is it?
Wow. Yeah, SDK. So how would an SDK, software development kit? So, for example, the majority of teams, they either offer third-party APIs or basically an SDK. And so
so you don't charge for the SDK, but you charge for the API.
Yeah, so API is like, but the APIs are within the SDK as well. So SDK is like something that's a lot more comprehensive. So for example, when we built Emblem Markets, we're using the Reservoir SDK, which means basically you can build kind of your own marketplace, where an API is basically you're just pulling the data. The SDK gives you the financial tooling to build the, for example, with Emblem Markets, to add buy and sell, to do swaps, or to do sweeps, to do bidding and all these things. That type of stuff exists in the SDK. And so we're building a Hustle SDK as well. So whatever you see on agenthustle.ai or whatever you see on emblem.vision, you can basically build that directly into your site or white label it however you want.
Yeah. It's exciting just to be at this stage of infrastructure and not just Bitcoin. I mean, we're talking about AI incorporated with, the Solana and then Bitcoin and the EVM side that you guys are going to be involved with. So, for the audience, I mean, I think, when they say being at the right place at the right time, I think for our space, this is now. Right. It might not seem extra bullish because we're not in alt season. We haven't had this crazy, 2021 moment yet. But this is stuff that's being built out for decades to come kind of situation, right? Do you feel the same way with that?
Yeah, of course. It's something that we had always thought about, something we knew was coming. you're still waiting on a few kind of larger impactful things to happen, like a market structure bill and a stablecoin bill in the US, but everybody's coming, right? You have Circle that just IPO'd and is, continuing to climb. It's up like 3x or 4x from where the IPO is. And the Bitcoin ecosystem, on a more micro scale, you have all these developers that are building. The community is now more accepting of chain abstraction, which is a huge point. I would say the industry is actually much more accepting now of chain abstraction. And so you're going to get all of these cross-chain DeFi protocols and cross-chain applications that eventually, kind of wipes away and eliminates maximalism finally. And this is where you kind of get the really true, on-chain ownership economy, where you can move these assets between these different chains. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe the L1 of where you want to issue your tokens will matter, right? So like, because if you issued an NFT on Bitcoin versus Solana versus ETH, you're getting much different cultures that come with that. So the culture is generally created and cultivated on the L1, but then you take these assets other places if you need to for specific reasons. And Bitcoin is, has the opportunity to kind of lead that from the NFT side of things and maybe from the Rune side of things. And it finally feels right. The only issue with Bitcoin is that the development takes much longer. So the community has to be much more patient. I think this is why people say Rune suck, is because, Bitcoin, to scale on Bitcoin, it takes just a lot longer time. There's less capital. It's a smaller community. And you don't want to have to try to build the same exact experience Solana has. You need to have your own kind of niches and your own different culture that comes with it. So it may take a little bit longer at this point in time. Maybe the DEX battle doesn't really start until, Q4 or so. We're about to enter Q3. And then maybe it takes, a few quarters. So maybe by this point next year, we'll know who's kind of like the main Rune DEX. And I guess it just depends on the community if you have the patience to really kind of wait that out and see. But you chose Bitcoin for a reason, so you should understand kind of the implications.
How do you win in a DEX battle? I think a DEX battle is the worst case scenario because we're already pretty stagnant, right? Because there's liquidity in different pockets, and you can't ever get a good price for anything.
Liquidity consolidates over time, though. Like you see this with Uniswap, right? When Uniswap launched, there was SushiSwap, there was 1inch, right? There was all these other kind of competitors. Eventually, after 2-3 years, Uniswap ended up commanding 80%.
So there's going to be a winner, basically. Well, someone's going to have to win.
Somebody will win, yeah. There's also a situation, which I call like the village theory, which is like, because Bitcoin's liquidity is so large, you can have 2 or 3 or 4 different types of fungible token standards exist and still attract liquidity. Maybe it won't be like the main winner, like Runes, right, who will command the majority of it. But you can have these different protocols exist for specific reasons, right? Like DMT exists and has a very specific purpose. It's never going to compete with Runes, but it can still get a decent size to where people can win and the community can kind of flourish. So I think it really depends, right? Because you have counterparty's not going away. You have BRC20, that's not going away. You have Runes, that's not going away. Outside of that, I would say it's kind of TBD because the rest of the protocols are venture-backed protocols, which is a little bit tough. But those 3 are not. Those 3 started organically without any capital backing. So I don't see those going away anytime.
That's true.
Yeah,
man.
Great points, man. Great points. And it's going to be interesting, but I do think that there needs to be a home base though, and that if you have a home base, then you have more chance for mass adoption. Everybody knows on Ethereum, you go to Uniswap now on pretty much any other big EVM chain as well. Uniswap's taking that market share. And then on Solana, we pretty much know that you're going to go to Jupiter or Radium. But see, that's where I think it can get okay. Jupiter.
So you'll need like Radium. An aggregator, right? Because Jupiter is an aggregator.
Radium. Well, isn't Meteor? I thought Meteora was the aggregator. No,
Meteor is an LP provider. Okay. So basically, Jupiter, they do have kind of their own swaps, but they aggregate it from Radium and from all of these other ones. And they ended up winning because they also built out like a suite of other tools as well.
Yeah.
But with Bitcoin specifically, right? You have Magic Eden, you have right? You'll have kind of like the Arch network ecosystem with Saturn. You have DotSwap, and I feel pretty confident that Runes is going to win. I think it just has the most infrastructure, the most interest overall. We'll see, how the competition kind of goes. There, who offers kind of incentives, but I still think, like, to put it as simply as possible, whoever wins Dog wins the battle is kind of how I see it. Dog is 50% of the market cap, if not more.
70.
It'll
75.
it'll continue to grow. It'll continue to grow. But there's also this other kind of possibility where instead of a DEX focusing on all of the tokens, you can kind of get a specific niche, right? Kind of like what if you look at Solana with all their different launch pads, you see all the launch pads now kind of carving out their own niche, right? Like Believe is internet capital markets and whatever the hell that means. I guess it's just like builders, like they're just
utility projects,
right? They're right, and so I think there will be a lot of utility projects on Bitcoin. I mean, right now Liquidium's the largest. Emblem, our goal is to be the largest infrastructure project on Runes. That's why we chose to go. So, healthy competition, and there's a handful of other teams that are utility projects on Runes as well. And we'll compete, but the best case scenario is you have a lot of teams come in and build, and you can have a DEX come in, just focus on actual builders getting their token off the ground, integrating a launch pad or something like that. It doesn't have to be all about meme coins. And I've been saying this for a long time, that I think people in the community trying to brand Runes as Bitcoin meme coins was like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's just like, meme coins will exist. It's not going to be the whole idea. It's just people playing bag bias. But utility projects, infrastructure projects, the market is much larger than meme coins. It'll always be much larger than meme coins. And so to cut yourself that short, I think is just the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But
Bitcoin tokens is good.
Yeah, I don't know. Just call them Runes. Like, they're called Runes. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, to me, like, they're like, we have to attract normies. Like, being in Bitcoin on this isn't normie friendly. It might not be normie friendly for another few years. So you just got to attract people who actually build value. Like, that's literally what you need to do instead of extracting value. And that's why you see all these other meme coins outside of Dog has basically gone to zero. I mean, you have Mem that's still kind of doing well, and I think Pups is like somewhat around, but Dog is the only one that actually built value, right? And so, and they built value by bringing new people to Runes. Like, they literally onboarded South America to Runes, right?
Very true.
None of these other projects have been able to do that so far. I do hold a handful of these as well, of Runes outside of Dog, but Dog's the only one that's been purposeful, and Liquidium seems to be in that right direction as well, in terms of their announcement and more volume coming into their token and such.
Absolutely. And I think you need a healthy utility ecosystem environment with tokens too, as well, which I think you guys have your place. Liquidium has their place. Fluid will have their place. So, there's going to be an ecosystem built, but I actually think ICM Launchpad makes the most sense in the Bitcoin ecosystem because, the way ICM Launchpads work is if you have like a legitimate project, you launch it, you earn 1% or 1.5% of the trading fees to get you going. It's like a startup type of Launchpad, right? But imagine those trading fees were in Bitcoin, right? You are earning that in Bitcoin. You, at the same time as like some runway, you kind of are starting your Bitcoin little strategic reserve as well, right? And if you are that impactful in terms of what you're bringing to the table, you could easily, I say easily, as in like if you're doing well, you could hit $100 million in volume over 6 months or whatever, and you earn $1 million in Bitcoin. That is gonna, you look at it as like this growing asset when you zoom out, right? So I don't know. I just think it makes the most sense on Bitcoin. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I can share kind of my own experience with like launching Tensorium on Pump Fund, right? So we're like a legit builder team, but this whole time now, 6 months later, we don't have any access to those LP fees, right? And also, right, we don't have any access to the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been added to that liquidity pool. We don't have access to changing the metadata, right? We don't have access to anything around it. and it's a big issue for us, right? So we're actively looking into different ways on how we can, create a successful migration to a new token. With that, with that comes a lot of capital.
Whoa.
Yeah, with that comes a lot of capital. I mean, this is an issue that a lot of AI builders are facing. I've talked with a handful of VCs who have reached out to us with interest. The issue with the end of last year was that you have all of these AI projects that launched on Solana, and there's two issues now, 6 months later. None of these teams have any of the tokens because it was all fairly launched, and none of these teams have access to the LP fees. And so it's kind of a double whammy to where your token basically becomes monopolized by, self market makers, which I've definitely seen. Been watching Tensorium, and it's like a handful of whales just market making the token, right? And without being able to own a percentage of that supply, you're kind of stuck in this like forever loop where the token just moves kind of wherever their way is, unless you can buy it back. So we have some ideas on how to fix this. I've heard of other ideas that some venture capital firms have reached, or hedge funds, I guess you could call them, have reached out to us about what other teams are doing. And so trying to take that all into consideration. But the reason why I bring this up is that on Bitcoin, the same kind of thing could happen. This is we were on the show and I was talking about this with Odin Fund. Odin Fund, I like Bob. I talked with Bob multiple times last conference. He's a really good guy. But Odin Fund is not built for projects. It's built for meme coins. Like, and that's a big issue. Like, you don't. There's no way to pull the token off of Odin Fund in a successful way that's beneficial to projects, right? And so
you can't bring LP pool,
and you can't take the LP pool. Like, you can't coordinate a way to remove all of them off the platform. When you launch them on ICP, it's stuck on ICP basically forever. I mean, you can move the tokens out, but let's say you have 500 holders after a token graduates. There's no way you're going to be able to convince 500 token holders to withdraw to go to a different ecosystem.
Not even 50. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Really impossible. People just don't do it.
It's tough. And so, on Bitcoin, there is nothing there is no launchpad that's beneficial to the builder. Obviously, Runes and BRC20 have this kind of self-mint mechanic in it itself. And Runes, you can pre-inscribe, or you can kind of hold back some of the supply, which is great. But the people on Bitcoin, they don't want to participate in that. But you can always go to the base layer of Runes to do that as a builder, which I think is a lot more beneficial. And so if you want to have a thriving kind of utility ecosystem, or call it, I guess the new word is infra ecosystem. People want to move away from utility, I've been reading. So if you want to have a successful infra project ecosystem, right, you need to be attractive to builders. And right now, there is nothing on Runes outside of a smart team just coming in and knowing how the Runes protocol works and being able to build a marketing strategy around keeping back some of the supply, and then having the community kind of in the rest.
Yeah, but the best part of that is there's a lot of opportunity, right? There's opportunity to build that. Other places, there's not a lot of opportunity because a lot of stuff's already been built, like all the ideas. But we're the only ecosystem where you can kind of take, the other chains' ideas and bring them here because no one has done it yet. But you got to do that in a different way, and it's not going to be nowhere near as easy as just forking something. So I think that's one best thing about our ecosystem. We're so early. We're too early, actually.
It's painful, man. I've heard it, my entire like 9 years that I've been here.
Yeah.
You're always early to something. You can be early to the kind of macro, right? Being early to Bitcoin, that's over. Being early to Ethereum, that's over. Being early to Solana, kind of still early to Solana. But all these other intra ecosystems, like, that is extremely early, but obviously comes with insane upside. I mean, the reason why Bunzi, myself, and a handful of other people tried to build OmniSat 2 years ago when BRC20 launched was because at that time I was like, dude, if you could be the DEX on Bitcoin 5 years from now, it'd be $1 billion company.
Yeah,
that foresight, man. That's foresight.
But the who kind of got really wrecked by being too early were the VCs from that came out of the 2023 ordinals and Bitcoin fungibles boom. Man, they went like head first into like Bitcoin layer 2s and all these things in 2024, but a lot of them were from the East. And I think a lot of the East doesn't like to sit on stuff. And so for them, they were just like, once they realized they were too early, they were just trying to sell down everything they had and then get out. And so I feel like if now is like the West actually saw that, and now the West investors are on time. I feel like, you know what I mean? They're the ones that have the drapers and stuff. They are pouring into the Bitcoin ecosystem right now. And it was, Shizzy, you and I were both a little shocked. We were like, what is this happening right now? It's weird. We thought the Bitcoin ecosystem was dormant. And all of a sudden we're hearing like, you know, this team got 14 million. This team's getting $1 million. This team's getting 3 million. And so unfortunately, a lot of those East VCs, they were too early, but now these Western VCs might be on time, and we'll see here if I'm still in the thesis that I think the Bitcoin ecosystem is the biggest play of the cycle, but we're not gonna probably see it until Q4, maybe Q1 of next year.
Yeah, you know, that's exactly kind of what we had planned with Emblem Keys. That was the whole kind of strategy behind it. It's going pretty well. So for us, you know, we just have to continue to execute, continue to grow revenue, and continue to create different types of projects. Agent Hustle is built on top of Emblem, and then to expand Emblem. And we've also been working on a different project in the background that once Hustle is into a stable position, then we'll launch that, which I think can be somewhat revolutionary for the gamification of NFTs through Emblem Vault. But you got to focus on one project at a time. Like to build a lot of things. Yeah, gamification.
Exactly.
The NFT ecosystem is still there for the taking.
Oh yeah.
Like the broader, right, the quote unquote the pump fun of NFTs, which is essentially just a way to get people to mint NFTs and gamify and trade and do all these things. Like I'm not saying an NFT launchpad is the right thing. I'm saying it's the NFT gamification of something.
Having something fun to bring that fun back.
Yeah. And I think using Emblem Vault tech, where Emblem's the only technology that allows NFTs to trade on all chains and interact with all chains. So there's some cool products there. And that's why we're building that SDK, is that once people realize we'll have a product, I think a lot of people will be like, oh shit, you can do this. Like, oh, what about if you can do that? Right. And we have the same idea with Agent Hustle, where it's like we have some builders who are now building, you know, there's two main builders I know. There's the Leonidas Rune project that's using the Agent Hustle MCP. Then you have this other guy who's building Agent Hustle Pro, I guess is the running name. But I think once these are live, then people will be like, oh shit, you could do this. Oh, I could do that kind of idea. And so we have the same vision for both of them. Obviously, one token is on Solana, one token is on Bitcoin, but they will, the tokens will exist in their respective domains, but the technologies can be mix and matched to amplify both of them.
Really quick, because you know we know you have an extensive kind of knowledge on NFTs, historical NFTs. One of our topics for our live stream today was Yuga Labs making these moves, right? You know, offloading Moonbirds. They already offloaded CryptoPunks, and now they're trying to kind of move ApeCoin into like this meme category. And Shizzy asked me, are they in trouble? How do you feel about that? Is Yuga in trouble, or is this more of a strategic, maybe blueprint copying Abstract and what they're doing?
Smart builders. I think for them, you know, they got caught up in the hype and they basically were co-opted by, you know, their investors to make moves that maybe they thought were right at the time, ended up being horrifically wrong. And I think it just kind of like their whole situation kind of highlights that crypto natives run crypto natives. To have an outsider come in and participate without putting the work in rarely ever works. And to the largest degree of even like at World Liberty Fi, right, you have like the literal president and their sons building a crypto project that nobody wants to participate and everyone hates, right? So it's like the outsiders will never win.
Yeah.
You got to come in and put the work in. And so, you know, do I agree with everything Yuga Labs has done? No. But I think from, you know, putting my builder hat on, once the Yuga team got back into position after that old Blizzard CEO left, they started unwinding everything that they had not constructed. The previous team tried to take a Microsoft approach of being basically a holdings company. Like Microsoft's just a holding company of tech companies. they basically became, Yuga Labs was like a holdings company of IP of all types.
Hmm.
Turns out that because maybe they wanted to put it into other side, I guess, but turns out that was a terrible decision. And so now they're just unwinding it. And I think they're smart to unwind the DAO because DAOs are cool. They're definitely good in certain situations, but the majority of time you don't need DAOs. Just like the majority of times you don't need tokens for projects as well. Like there's a use case for them. So I do think remove that kind of bureaucracy that exists with ApeCoin, allow it to just exist, and allow the community to come in and build their own projects that integrate ApeCoin, I think is really smart to do. So, you know, Yuga Labs may have like one of the best comebacks ever of a company here. You know, some of their decisions like acquiring Moonbirds, although they did get the Moonbirds treasury, you know, they probably had some capital restraints on some of these decisions that they had to do. But yeah, I like everything that they're doing. I think they're kind of in like war mode, kind of like what you're seeing Vitalik
OpenSea.
get into right now, and OpenSea. Vitalik recently, right? He basically, I guess you'd say 180'd on the L2 vision that they're still going to do, and he's basically scaling the L1 now. I actually thought he was going to like stick to the L2 vision, which is basically, you know, saying you were wrong and moving forward. You know,
Yeah.
OpenSea, I still think OpenSea has some revolutionary stuff coming. It seems kind of like a LARP, but that was also one of my 2025 predictions was OpenSea would have some really interesting technology. But we'll see. You know, people love OpenSea. The one thing I learned about OpenSea when we created Emblem Markets was 0% trading fees. People would happily pay 2.5% to trade on OpenSea because they're familiar with it. They like it. You know, people are now stuck in that habit, and that is where liquidity is. And they own Seaport, so they will never actually go away because they own all of the underlying technology to the whole NFT ecosystem. But good for you, good for Yuga, smart by the builders. I guess you just kind of have to see what happens next as a kind of slimmed down company.
Yeah, man. I agree. And like a lot of your predictions have been right so far. I'm not gonna lie. You predicted the upward sideways, upward sideways. So you've been dead on so far. So I'm not gonna bet against you. We're getting to the end here. I have one more question for you. So, you know, obviously we're in the summer now. Let's just say we're in August. What does a successful summer feel like in August? So what have you guys done throughout the summer for August to be successful?
From like the Emblem side of things?
Yeah, let's just say you look back, like,
Good
oh, well,
question.
we had a successful summer. Like, what does that look like?
So I'd like Emblem to be on, you know, 2 or 3 chains. We've successfully have kind of 2 devs then working on Emblem Vision, 2 devs working on Agent Hustle full time. We're kind of in that transition period right now, but getting to the end. From the Emblem Vault side of things, the bulk minting tool, like to see our new front end live. Again, on 3 or 4 different chains, some partnerships on each of the chains. So like partnered with all the lending protocols on each of these chains, any type of NFT gamification platform you want to be partnered with, whatever the marketplace is, would be good. And honestly, getting, you know, the ordinals and Bitcoin community a little bit more familiar with Emblem. I know a lot of ordinals holders are very resistant to Emblem, unfortunately, whereas the counterparty community is not. So this is where we hope. I also hope that our kind of NFT gamification platform would be live at that point in time as well, as long also with a successful keys TGE that comes online at Bitcoin block 915,000.
It's coming up.
It's coming up. Yeah, we just passed 900,000. It's going to be a slow rollout of keys. We did this purposely. So by the end of October, November, there'll be about 35% distributed, which will be 20% to the founder vaults, and then 15% to the Koval migrators. And then maybe we'll get our kind of point system live once all of that's functional, which people can participate. On the Agent Hustle side of things, probably, you know, let's see. We'd want our subscription service definitely live by then. Expansion to Bitcoin, our announcement of our new tokenomics system, I think should definitely be live by then. A successful mobile app would be pretty good. and then a successful developer build out where people are using the Hustle SDK to build successful projects. I think that's where our edge is. I think Agent Hustle is the best AI that exists in crypto. There are other developers that are shipping better, I guess you could say, like financial instruments and stuff. But in terms of talking with Agent Hustle's crypto knowledge and the way that he has a memory capabilities, I think that is the best. So getting users to build with Agent Hustle. And then obviously you hope that the tokens are at like $1 bajillion based off of, you know, all the
Bajillion.
use, right? That's what you want for both of those.
That's a huge number, Jake. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I was like, man, but hey, he's CEO. Right? That's the expectation.
That's our ship. Yeah. Yep. Honestly, a lot of the things I said are kind of plans for the next like month or two. You know, we're still a smaller team, so if funding comes in, right, if any of these tokens take off or further funding comes in, then obviously this plus probably a bunch more happen. I would like to hire another 1 or 2 developers to the team. If we had like 6 developers, I think that'd be kind of like pretty good. But you know, you got to work with the resources that you have and operate in the market that exists. There's no crying in the casino. There's also no crying you know, from a builder. You just got to kind of continue forward. So it's going to be a good summer for us. If not, I think we're going to be in a fucking shitload of trouble. So there's only
y'all are going to be fine.
I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. The team is good. It's again, having Emblem 2.0 live is like the biggest sigh of relief. Like that was something we'd been working on for 2 years. The big struggle was taking the Emblem 1.0 system, merging it into Emblem 2.0, and then allowing other developers to kind of work on it. Very, very tricky process. Lots of thorns in the path, you know, what you did fucking navigate, fucking white picket fence, standing on it. Like it was tough, but now that that's live, it should be loosening up some of our other devs to be working on things. And I think it'll be a very good summer heading into the Keys TGE. And then also on the Solana side of things, the new Hustle tokenomics that'll be announced.
Awesome.
I'm excited, Jake, man. Absolutely amazing. You know, even if 80% of that or 60% of that happens, you guys are going to be in a good position, in my opinion.
Let's go. That's the goal.
The SDK, you know, from a business perspective, can really get going like a snowball flywheel effect to where you know you guys can because you will kind of it'll trickle down, right? Or it's more of like you guys get a cut, right, off of everything.
Yeah, the goal. I think the goal for every crypto project is to do B2B, right? Because then you don't have to deal with the retail side of things. And I love retail, but I don't have to deal with the when marketing people consistently every day or the when token launch or Wise number not going up kind of.
Because that's fun, right?
It's a blast having to tell the same people the same thing every day, right? So a lot of the community members are really good, but there's always, you know, the trolls or the people who basically invested too much or they bought the top, right? That you kind of have to deal with. And, you know, I understand I've been in that position as well, but from a builder side of things, you know, just building tools for builders to do things is much, it's much more lucrative, number one. But I would say it's a lot more soulful, so that I'm not frustrated all the time at the community and they're not frustrated at us. So that's definitely the goal. That's been a goal since I joined the team 3 years ago. And I think now almost, so 4 months from now will be my 3 years at Emblem. And so that's generally what they say with startups. It generally takes about 3 years to kind of build that vision out. And I just consider me joining Emblem as day one from my standpoint. So we'll continue forward and we're going to continue to grow. And yeah, appreciate you guys for hosting me as always. Always a great conversation. You guys are crushing it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much as well for, you know, taking your time out of your day. We know you're super busy. Look forward to next week as well. And I guess until then, try to relax on the weekend, man.
No sleeps, man. We work on Saturdays with some of our devs, and then Sundays generally the day off. So we'll see. I'll see you guys soon.
Sounds good, man.
You, Jake.
Take it easy.
Absolutely bullish, dude. I'm bullish on Jake's build. I'm bullish on Emblem Vault, man. It's awesome we get to spend an hour with him every week, right? Like, I mean, could be one of the biggest companies to come out of crypto, and we're sitting here talking to the CEO once a week. And you guys are watching us have such an advantage over everybody else because you're putting the time in, you're putting that work in to understand what Emblem Vault is, what they're building, and you just heard potentially what success looks like for this summer. And if those things do happen, I mean, potentially those keys or that token, if you do decide to do whatever you do, you could make out like a bandit.
Yeah, and look, they have one of the most popular AI tools in programs. Basically, that's what Hustle is, right? In Solana's ecosystem and in the overall crypto AI ecosystem, I think they rank like number 3 in terms of mind share. So that's huge to be able to create that, and then that's going to be coming over to Bitcoin as well. So super exciting stuff, guys. I think that wraps up our show, right? Or we got a couple.
That's it. I
right.
did with just one last thing. So I put something on my X that I was like, "Will Kraken get listed?" And I quoted the show. Will dog get listed on Kraken today? And I think so. So we got to talk about it a little bit. We got like a crap load of 62 likes on that. So I just wanted to. I asked you the question. Will dog get listed on Kraken today?
Well, I mean, how much more of today do we have, right? Like, we're I mean, it's pretty early in the Central Time zone, but like really early for where on the West Coast. Look, but that still gives us about I don't know, for me about probably like I think 5 more hours of business time, right? So I would say no. I'm gonna say no on a Friday. But look,
what about Monday?
Possibly. And one thing I actually thought about was this. Binance has been doing this on kind of off-chain, on-chain thing because they, have BSC to be able to do that. It's been working out really great for them and their new tokens. What if Kraken is developing this kind of like on-chain situation for runes as well? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of an extended part. They do have this new product that's called Crack that's coming out. I know that might be more of like the, slingshot thing, but who knows? They have been building infrastructure stuff for the Bitcoin ecosystem, so that could be something. But yeah, I don't think the listing is going to happen today, but it will happen. They have said it, so just be patient, guys.
Yeah, and I was told in my messages, multiple people messaged me during the show, and they said, "Hey, they're talking about you in the Tap Spaces today." So I guess my comments from yesterday. I'm gonna go listen to the Bitcoin, whatever they call it, 2 or something, season 2. But I'm gonna be checking that out. So yeah, so if I was mentioned in that, thank you. Any publicity is good publicity from my standpoint. But that's our show, guys. We have 812 people watching on YouTube and X. Wow, I'm gonna say that again. 816 people watching on YouTube and X. Really appreciate you guys, man. Giving us your time means everything to us. Thank you so much. But that's not to mention everyone on Twitch, Kick, Rumble, and Abstract. We are everywhere, guys, and we'll be on Spotify later when I upload this stream. But I appreciate every single one of you guys, man.
Absolutely, guys. And, without you guys, we couldn't do this Monday through Friday, which we love to do. We're passionate about this, but also without our partners, we couldn't do it. So if you could check them out, we would greatly appreciate it. I'm going to start off with Sats Terminal is the aggregator DEX swap. So they aggregate from all the other DEXs that have liquidity. So they're going to find the most liquid, the best pricing for your dog go to the moon. You can actually swap it directly at satsterminal.com. And if it's your first time connecting your wallet, you get 1,000 Amber points. Amber points are going to be very important for the future alpha of Sats Terminal. You can kind of put 2 and 2 together and put, come up with your own logic there. But let's just say we are collecting as many Amber points as we can. But you're going to be able to find all the popular runes there. You can see the ticker at the top that shows all the trending ones there. You can actually swap for popular alkanes as well, as they have alkane support as well. But runes, definitely satsterminal.com. They're going to have their bridge. We actually showed a sneak peek of that during the Wednesday segment when we had that team on with us. So exciting stuff coming with this team. Head over to satsterminal.com, collect all the Amber points. You can see how you could do that there. So you're in the game. And then BetBTC is the predictions marketplace for the Bitcoin ecosystem. All you need is a Bitcoin wallet, some Bitcoin, and 6 Bitcoin blocks, and you can start placing bets in their markets. Right now, their active markets are the Blitz markets. You get 10 minutes to lock in a price that you think is going to go up or down for Bitcoin, Solana, or BNB. You can select which token you want to work with there, and then you get an additional 10 minutes to see if you were right or wrong. It's a pretty fun game there, but be responsible, of course, because it is kind of this perp style or leverage style approach. But in the future, guys, you're going to be able to create your own markets. There's going to be some amazing things coming from this team, and you're going to be able to earn up to 1.5% of the total volume of your market. So if you are have an amazing following, you're good at social media followings, and you do $100 million in volume over a span of 3 months, that's $1.5 million that you can actually earn for your pocket, right? So it's going to get competitive. It's going to be fun, though, once that happens. Check them out at betbtc.win and dive into their docs and join their community over there on their Discord. And then Emblem Vault, we just had Jake up for an hour. This team is crushing it. They are the interoperability tooling for Bitcoin ordinals or NFTs on Bitcoin, like the counterparty stuff. You're going to be able to jump those from Bitcoin Layer 1 to Abstract to Ethereum to Merlin, Bitcoin Layer 2 to all types of EVM chains, and eventually Solana as well. And you will eventually be able to use Agent AI Hustle to help you. Right now, you can use Hustle to kind of help you through the jungles of Solana to help you trade, because over there, you don't want to be alone. I'm telling you, especially if you're new. And Hustle is a great research tool, assistant to let you know, you can ask questions like, what's the most safe 2x opportunity in Solana? And he will give you his response, right? So, just get familiar with Hustle. You can head over to agenthustle.ai. Oh, you're on mute, but okay, agenthustle.ai. And then, right now it is free. There is no token gated model, but eventually there will be their token integrated and access with it. But you can try it out right now. And then don't forget about their runes, Bitcoin runes TGE that's coming around September. You can actually participate in a pre-sale environment if you head over to OpenSea and search Emblem Founder Vaults over there. It is an ERC 721, so it's an NFT. But once you get close to the TGE, they will give you instructions on how to get those Bitcoin runes into your Bitcoin wallet. Head over to emblem.vision. Dive into their docs, dive into their community today. And then Artura.finance is the perps and leverage DEX of the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're going to be launching on Hemi Bitcoin Layer 2, backed by Binance Labs, as well as Botonics. I believe the Botonics launch is going to probably be coming first, but they're going to be doing some co-marketing with Botonics. It's going to be really exciting, guys. But you're going to be able to trade synthetic Bitcoin fungibles on Artura, like Doggo to the Moon, Billion Dollar Cat, Ordi, perhaps Sats, and then the popular tokens outside the ecosystem, the TAOs, the XRPs, the Ethereums. And then let's say you don't want to participate in trading. That's okay. You can actually add liquidity to their vaults to kind of participate and earn passively there. Dive into their documentation at Artura.finance. Join their Discord, because they have like experienced traders that kind of guide you and give you tips and tricks. And we are doing a series actually with Artura with those experienced traders. So make sure you go to our YouTube page into the library and watch some of the past episodes there. It's really, really interesting there. Head over to Artura.finance, learn more about that team. And then Fluid tokens, we talked about them earlier. If you staked your dog for season 2, make sure you head over to fluidtokens.com, click on the Bitcoin side, and unstake your dog so you can get your rewards and your original dogs that you staked, dog tokens. And then if you are a founder,
don't stake your dogs.
Don't stake your dogs, but stake your dog tokens, because you can earn more. But if you're a founder of an ordinal collection or runes, you etch the runes with an established community, you want a staking vault for your community like Pep Odins did, Sparks did it, head over to their Discord. They have a team that's ready to answer any questions that you guys have. It's exciting to do that for your community because they can earn, right? Also, there's an airdrop tool if you want to airdrop runes to your community. Click on the airdrop tab there, and then you can follow the steps. You can either upload a lot of addresses with a CSV file, or you can do it manually one by one, but it is very cost efficient and very fast. That team is just crushing it over there, adding new tools for the Bitcoin ecosystem and the Cardano ecosystem as well. Right now, they have their Aquarium platform that's available for Cardano users. You can earn Babel fees by participating in that as well. Head over to fluidtokens.com, join their communities, their Discord, all that great stuff. And then Tokyo Wallet is the multi-chain smart wallet. If you have an Apple iPhone, head over to the Apple App Store, download that. If you have an Android, head over to Google Play, download it there. You can swap for Bitcoin runes, Doggo to the Moon, because they partnered with Sats Terminal in the app, guys. Amazing stuff there. They're trying to make this a one-stop shop. On the Cardano side, you can actually swap for SNEC. So it is built for Cardano Bitcoin, and eventually there's going to be another environment, and their plan is to not really stop with that, right? They want you guys to have a one-stop shop in one place, and you can actually find alpha, including us, on their alpha section there, along with Cryptos R Us and other popular crypto YouTube channels. Make sure you head over there. You can learn about their token. That is a Cardano token. You can learn about what, their entire team and what they're about there at Tokyo.io. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin strength with the power of AI with their Wizard 0.03 AI that can guide you through Merlin Chain's ecosystem. It can help you stake, swap. And speaking of staking, you can actually stake and help secure the chain with their proof of stake. If you go to merlinchain.io and click on stake, you can actually stake for the day-to-day, and you'll earn 15% APR. But when you do withdraw from that one, it does take 7 days, so just know that. And then there's a new 6-month term staking that you can earn 45% APR, and you're actually able to withdraw your rewards on a daily basis with that one. But these are big boy decisions, big boy and girls decisions. So make sure you research and make that decision yourself. But these options are here, and this is pretty generous APR. So head over to merlinchain.io, learn as much as you can about them. Their team and founder is amazing, constantly grinding for new partnerships. They have their partnership with Wrap Bitcoin DAO. They have their partnerships with Binance Alpha and now Binance Perp. So big things and big builders coming to Merlin Chain. We know a couple. So head over to merlinchain.io and dive in there to learn more. And lastly is our integrated partners in Jungle, which was formerly Foxy AI, building the metaverse on Bitcoin called the Bitverse, and their first-person shooter game called Cypher Striker, which we typically live stream every Tuesday, but right now we're on a break. We want them to kind of finish up the development of that game. We'll let you know when we pick that back up. And Ordinal Hive is the Ordinal DEX aggregator, or not DEX, Ordinal aggregator marketplace, I should say. Kind of like what Sats Terminal is doing, but for Ordinals on the Ordinal side, you're going to be able to find their trader tools as well, like live mempool insights and some other awesome tools for traders if you head over there. But we thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this entire time, 2 hours and 40 minutes, 832 of you guys. Thank you so much.
It doesn't feel that long, does it? I don't think it feels 2 hours and 40 minutes. It might. I don't know. But let's if you guys have a few more minutes, I know it's been a while, but if you guys wouldn't mind checking out OnChainRevolution.io, we have some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. First we were just doing ordinal stuff, but now we're doing all the entire ecosystem. So if you want to figure out what the Believe app, when we were talking about it today, if you want to figure out what that is, check out our article right here. It'll break down exactly what it is and exactly what it's going to be. I was reading it a couple days ago, and it's phenomenal. We have so many other articles on here. Check them all out here. All you have to do is go to here at Ecosystem News and all that stuff for the Bitcoin news, and check all that stuff out. And if you guys need a VPN, I think everyone should have a VPN. Every single one of you guys should have a VPN. There's no reason not to. NordVPN is $3 a month. Use our link. It's 70% off. So it's like $10 a month. But with our link, it's $3. Like, it's stupid not to have one, guys. When you go to these websites, especially the ones in crypto, you're giving your IP to these people. They have your IP. They know exactly where you live. Your IP leads to your home address. Many people don't know that. So it's stupid not to have VPN. Every single one of you guys should have one. Even if you just leave it on the United States, it's still better than having it like show your exact location. Stupid. But get a Nord VPN through us. Make sure it's through us, guys, because I don't want you guys overpaying. So definitely check out a link there, and check out our store tab up here now. You click that. It'll pop you over to our Shopify. That is these numbers up top. And you just come down here. We have some of most amazing stuff. Obviously, we have a lot of ordinal stuff, but we're starting to bring on some other stuff as well. We're going to have, some Bitcoin shirts, maybe some Ethereum shirts, and so on and so on. Check everything out here at OnChainRevolution.io. And guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys, until tomorrow or Monday.
Peace.
OnChain, 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 OnChain. OnChain Revolution, roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go. Bitcoin controlling. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear track. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and arching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain Revolution.